Hello everyone and welcome back to Blender Basics. Today we're going to be going over the premises of simple 3D animation. This is just going to cover rigging and not like precise animation qualities or skills, but just going to go over exactly what you need to do to take your little 3D model dude and pretty much rig them up ready for animation prep. So the way this works is in Blender you can create these shapes. I'm not going to demonstrate how I made this little guy here in this video, but I will do another video showcasing this later in the future, or for one of our classes that are in person as well. But I will be showing you how to rig this guy up using the bone system they have in Blender that's built in, and how to make it to where each object is paired to the bones and to where you can manipulate those bones to do what you see fit. So to start off, we have our guy here, our little modular maker man. And we are going to give him some bones. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to go to here to go into my viewport to go to X. I'm using this little cursor up in the corner to go over a front view. I'm then going to do Shift A to add, and this is a hotkey. You can also do this by going up to the Add tab here as well. I'm going to go down to Armature. So Armature is a special object. Essentially, it acts as what I've been referring to as bones, which allows to manipulate three-dimensional objects and move them around actively to create animations. So I'm going to create this armature here. Now you can't see anything that happened. You see there's a little X and Y axis is going on right there, or Z and Y, I'm sorry. Z and Y axis going on there, but you really don't see any objects. That's because this is still hidden by the object here. It's kind of in the middle of the square. You can see it's kind of been hidden by his legs. So in order to get this displayed at the forefront, I'm going to go down here to the Armature tab, the Context Object Data. And down here in Skeleton, I'm going to go to the Viewport Display, and I'm going to click the In Front box here. Once that's clicked, you can see now there's this little like triangle looking like shape object here. It's kind of a three-dimensional polygonal triangular like polygon here. Essentially this acts as the primary bone in your model, and you're going to use these and duplicate them to make a bone for each limb or ligament that your model has. So for this first one, I'm going to take it and move it up to the center of my body right about here. I'm going to scale this up by hitting the S key, or alternatively hitting the scale option over to the left. But I'm just going to click S and scale this up. Now I'm going to do is this is very important, is I'm going to shift over to the Edit tab, or Edit mode. So for you guys who are new to Blender, it does work in different modes. Right now I'm currently in Object mode. I'm going to shift over to Edit mode, which is up here in the top, or alternatively I can just press Tab to get there. I'm just going to show you guys by doing it manually by clicking this. So now I'm in Edit mode. Very subtle changes, just changes the work tools they're using, and exactly how you're affecting one object at this point. So I'm affecting the bones for the armature only right now. I'm editing those. So now that I'm in that, I'm going to take this little, I'm going to click around, so you can click this full bone here for the full object, or either end. Now if I click either of these ends, I can click E to extrude to make another bone. So I'm going to click E to go toward the head here, and I'm going to click Z as well to keep it vertical. And you can see now I have a bone for the body and a bone for the head. And then from that section right there, that's all we're going to do as far as these bones connected. Now if we want these bones over here for the arms and the legs, we have to make new ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Shift A. That's going to create a new bone for our armature. So now that I have that selected, I'm going to click the bone, and I'm going to just use these arrows for the axes to drag them around to kind of get them in the right spot. It doesn't matter exactly where they're at, but as long as they're kind of in the middle of your shape. I'm going to do the Rotate tool now and do the Rotate as well. Just going to bring that around, like a little free form right there. And then I'm going to scale it as well to bring it up a bit, and just drag that back down to get our bone right where it's at. Perfect. Now you could make this a little more straight, but like I said, it doesn't really matter 100%. And if you're trying to be very specific, like if this is a very basic model, so you don't have to worry too much about bone placement for exactly like what angle they're at, but the straighter the better depending on what you're working with. So with this one, I'm now going to have this selected, and I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate this, and then I'm going to hit Y to move it along the Y axis. Now alternatively, if you've made your model and you don't see this going forward, it may be because your model is oriented differently, so try hitting X or Y to move it in the different axes of the plane to move it straight along. Otherwise, you could just simply Shift D and drag that over here as well. So alternatively, you could have this and just drag it around if you prefer to, but that's entirely optional. So whatever you would like to do, there's many ways you can do the same thing in Blender. So same process, I'm going to click Shift A to create another bone for the legs, and I'm going to move this over to the left for the leg here, and R to rotate and rotate that around. And then once I get that there, I'm going to scale it up with S and move that on down, and then Shift D again to duplicate, and X to move it, Y to move it in the Y plane. And now you can see we kind of have a basic structure of our skeleton there. So it's kind of just, we have every ligament kind of covered. So now I'm going to go back into object mode here. So what's going on is now you can see we have everything kind of lined up the way we want to have lined up. The head has a bone, the body has a bone, the two legs each have a bone, the two arms each have a bone. But as you can see, if I go into what's called pose mode in here, not a lot's going on. I can move this around, but nothing's happening. I can move this around, but nothing's happening. There's a couple of other things we have to do to make sure this works properly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edit mode here. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to click this one here, the end, and we have to parent these bones that are separated to this main bone structure. So I'm going to click that there and then shift click this middle bone. It's important to do the child first and the parent last. I click this here, the main bone, not this end. Click the main bone here for my child, shift and click for the parent, and then I'm going to right click to then go to, oh no, I'm sorry, not click, right click, sorry, my apologies. Child, parent, and then you're going to Control P to parent. With that, then you're going to click Keep Offset. Now there's a few more times so you get the method down, and you can rewind and replay it if you need to. So first, click your child bone you want to have parented, hold Shift and click the parent bone you want it to connect to, and then Control P to parent, and you want to hit Click Offset. And I'm going to do that again for the legs. So I'm going to click my main bone, hold Shift, click the bone in the center, Control P, Control P, Keep Offset. Same with this leg, click the main bone, click your parent bone, Control P, Keep Offset. So now they're all parented together, which is good because now they're all one skeletal system and they're all connected. Even if it's a little bit of distance between, they all kind of know each other and where they're at position-wise. That's pretty important for especially more complex animated stuff, for armatures and for models. So now we're going back into object mode here, and now we're going to assign each of these pieces to the bone. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to click the bone here. Now, this is going to get a little, not complex, but this kind of gets a little tricky to do if you don't know what you're doing. So a quick way to fix any hurdles is to go up into the Edit tab. I did not have it checked, but if you have most people have it default as lock object modes, and this is checked, you want to uncheck this. Reason being is this allows you to go through the different modes of Blender and still select different objects. So for example, in pose mode, you can only select the bones, but I want to be able to use pose mode and object mode at the same time. So I'm going to have this here selected. I'm going to go into pose mode first, actually. So select my bones, go into pose mode, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this square here, and then hold down Shift and select the corresponding arm bone. And then I'm going to right click, and that's not what I'm going to do. It's a Control P. Yeah, Control P, sorry. Control P, and you want to click bone. And you're going to have every single one of these. So I'm going to click my bone here, shift click this arm, click this, shift hold click this one. It gets a little tricky, I promise. It happens to everybody. Control P, bone. Then you want to click this square, hold down Shift, hit your bone, make sure they're the only one selected, Control P, bone. This leg here, hold Shift. Now see how all those stuff selected? You don't want that. So I want to do just that leg, hold Shift. I'm going to click this real quick. I'm going to deselect these guys. There we go. Control P, bone. I'm going to do the same with this middle one here. Box. There we go. Torso, Control P, bone. And with head, click your head, Shift. And make sure this isn't selected. Still selecting it. There we go. Control P and bone. Perfect. And the next step, we'll get ready to move him around and animate him a little bit. Alright, so now that we have our bone system set up, we're going to go ahead and test it out. So I'm going to show you guys here. We're going to pose mode, and I'm going to grab the bone, and if I move it, you can see the arms move, which is super cool. You can move it all around. You can do a free drag, you can do a walk animation, you can use the legs. You can easily see this turning into like a Minecraft-esque kind of animation here, real easy. Now one thing I do want to show you though, something may catch it when you first see it, is move the head here. You see the head moves just fine, but the eyes are stuck in place. Now to fix this, real easy. We're going to go back into edit mode, and we're back on our bones still. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to shift A to add another bone. And we're going to add bones for our eyes here. So I'm going to grab this and move it straight up, and move it over to about where our eyes are at. Do the same thing, shift D to duplicate that, and the Y-axis there, clicking Y. Got that right there, awesome. And now what I'm going to do different is I'm going to click this bone here, and I'm going to shift click this bone, and then do Control P to keep offset on this. And I'll do the same with this one as well. And now this should be offset from the center bone regardless of where it moves. So if we do that, and then we go back into pose mode, and then we click our square here, just the same way we did before, and then shift click this bone. I'm going to Control P to bone, and then do the same with this one. Control P to bone. And as you can see right there, they're not exactly on site, but they're pretty solid. So now if we go into pose mode here and we do a lean of our head, you can see that the eyes stay in place the entire way. And now we have a full looking little face. Very cool and very fun. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to cover here briefly is just what you want to do to basically start animating if you want to like just play around with this little guy. It's nothing too complicated. Obviously there's a lot more in depth that I'm not going to cover, but just to get started, you know, why not? So first thing we're going to do is we are going to maybe move him around a little bit. We're in pose mode here still, so I'm going to just move the head a little, maybe do a little bit of like a sway of the arms a little bit, move them back. And sway these guys back as well. And then let's move this one forward. Speaking like the arms go back and forth a little bit. And then I'm going to go to the front here, and I'm going to just box select. Actually, no, we could move this out a little bit. Give it a little free flow. Nah, we'll keep it steady. Right about there. And then I'm going to box select here with this tool, and I'm going to go around the whole model. And then I'm going to click I, just click the key I, and I'm going to do lock rot right here. That's location and rotation of all the bones, and that's going to insert a keyframe, which you can see down here. This little diamond looking here is this little icon down here. I'm going to drag out to about maybe 50, and then I'm going to reorient the bones again. So I'm going to move these ones forward real quick. Make this one move over a little bit. And then I'm going to box select everything again. Keep doing that. And hit I to lock rod again. And you can see now if we go back to the beginning here, our little guy does a little movement. Very cool, right? So then I'm going to take this first one, and I'm going to actually duplicate this. I'm going to put right click on it, hit duplicate, and then just drag that out to maybe frame 100. And now what we got is a little loop. I'm going to drag this end down to 100. Or I just type it in, actually, it's probably a little easier. And now if we play it, we'll see they did this little, almost like little head nod kind of idle animation. Very, very cool. And you can see it's doing the FPS calculations up there as well, but you can just see the kind of just a little movement. And you can play around with that, kind of make something really cool and neat, you know, and knock your heart out. So, you know, it's just put your brains to it, make something really cool and creative, and you know, just try some new stuff out. So thank you for joining me. This has been Blender Basics, Intro to 3D Animation and Rigging. And I will see you guys in the next episode.